Hey friends, this is Tim Easton checking in from Nashville, Tennessee with John Broughton on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
Great.
Yeah, man.
Yep, just to start, you recently returned from some time in Alaska. I believe that's a place you've got a real affinity with.
Yes, 20 years in a row.
And you did some songwriting workshops while you were there.
Yeah, I do. I'm really fortunate that I've started that up as part of my way to get to travel there. If I could do some down under, I would so quickly get that going too, you know. I don't know if that's a thing that down there.
Oh, yeah.
I basically just wanted to figure out a way to fly fish and fish around Australia and New Zealand. But if I can do some songwriting workshops, that'd be great too. That's just a way to put you in one place for more than 2 or 3 days, you know, instead of going city to city to city. So you kind of get to stick around a little bit, you know? So yeah, if anybody wants to get one going in Mullumbimby or something like that, give me a shout. I love teaching. I love teaching or just learning to write songs with other people.
So talk us through a typical Tim Easton workshop. What's the format?
Oh, well, first I stand in front of the class and say it's impossible to teach songwriting. We're just going to get on a plane and go to Thailand. And I go through the history of tunes. I find out where everybody's at, who they love, and I basically guide them into studying the heroes of their heroes. So, you know, if you dig Chris Christopherson, maybe I'm going to have you back up into the Everly Brothers or whatever. If you dig Bob Dylan, I'll have you back up into old blues and stuff like that. And it just basically help you then break down folk songs and do quick lessons in like iambic pentameter and rhyming. And, we break down the songs that we love and we learn how to play those songs and then recreate that magic the best we can.
Do they become a learning experience for you too?
Absolutely. And they also become therapeutic because anytime you're going to get 6 songwriters together for a 4 or 5 day period, you're gonna cross some bridges of therapy, and you're gonna cover some intense stuff because it gets confessional.
I was interested to read a lovely piece that you put on your website regarding radio. As a radio person myself, I'm really glad in my heart to read it. Have you noticed with the advent of streaming services, a change in the attitude of artists to promoting their music via radio?
Yeah, that could be a long interview, right? Just talking about streaming and all that. I feel sometimes complaining about streaming sounds like the candle makers complaining after electricity got invented. I mean, it's a done deal, man.
Yeah,
it's here. Let's figure out how to make it work for the best. And it's tough for artists like myself that are below the mainstream, right? And no pun intended with stream there, but we're below the mainstream, so we're down there where we're not getting the thousands and thousands or millions or whatever, hundreds of thousands of streams per month. So we're not really making a living from streaming, but we would if those same people were to buy our records. So it's kind of tough in the spot I'm at, but at the same time, I just kind of keep moving forward and try to like get songs and films and TV, and hopefully that the streams will lead to more people coming to the shows. And in regards to radio, man, the reason I love radio so much is because I don't want to rely on an algorithm to tell me what song I want to hear next, you know? That's just too easy. Sometimes the algorithm is right. Sometimes the algorithm knows that I want to listen to some Simon and Garfunkel or something, or some old Motown. And it knows that, it connects me well. But for the most part, when I get in my car, especially, I want there to be a good old-fashioned disc jockey playing the songs that they think they're going to turn you on to. And that's why I wrote that essay about radio love, because it's cool when there are human beings such as yourself actually choosing and going through all the world's songwriters and finding stuff to play for people, try to turn them on to stuff.
So if an artist as well-traveled as you, and touring being such a big part of what you do, how have you coped with the past 18 months?
Well, I have gotten into trying to uplift people, because otherwise I would just go down in the dumps, man. It's like I still feel lucky to be able to make music. And actually this time at the house now is kind of getting me to study different things that I wouldn't study, you know, like you can go on YouTube and learn some different musical techniques and learn some things and learn some songs and listen to some jazz or some classical music that I hadn't listened to before. And also learn some technology, you know. I haven't studied how the algorithms work very well, but I have studied a little bit of beats and stuff on Pro Tools and learning to record at home, which is helping me create music that I probably wouldn't have created before. This album was made in a studio with friends, but at home I've got a whole other wing of creativity going.
You certainly lived a troubadour's life in those early days before your recording career started, traveling around Europe. Looking back now, how well do you think that prepared you for starting your music career officially when you returned to America?
Well, it prepared me by not being so upset when things didn't go my way. A street musician, those were easy times. They sound tough, you know, some of those homeless nights or whatever, but let's not forget this was before the internet, and I was, you know, just hitchhiking around Spain or Ireland. I mean, it was amazing. So it prepared me by, I don't know, providing me a great way to study the heroes of my heroes. You know, when I was able to kind of really get into the folk music of my country, and by that I mean the blues and country blues and stuff like Woody Guthrie or Blind Lemon Jefferson or Lightning Hopkins, and kind of really just get deep into those real simplistic, you know, guttural tunes on the streets. That's what brought in the loot. Some guys were, you know, boys and girls were playing the classics, you know, the Stones or something. But I was definitely leaning hard on the American folk book.
You eventually made Nashville your home. What was the lure of settling in Nashville? Was it the lure of being around other songwriters?
Well, certainly other songwriters, and also it's a really good place to tour out of. Now, the touring has been slowed down quite a bit, as we all know, but in Nashville is landlocked, so you can travel in 5, 10, 8 hours, whatever, in any direction, and there's a bunch of markets, bunch of places to play. You know, cities and towns and gigs. So it's a really good place to tour out of. And yeah, the home studios and just the recording studios here and all the people that run them and take care of the equipment that belongs in them, it's second to none. I'm just going to say, I mean, Nashville's got it going. We got it going on in that department. And of course, yeah, there's a lot of business structure here too, but everybody's a songwriter. So that's no surprise when you run into a songwriter. But when you run into someone that really knows how to make some drums sound good in a house, that's a valuable thing to have around you.
Yeah. Hey, before we talk about this new record, I stumbled across an old interview with you from, I think it was about 2003, where you mentioned you don't really listen back to your own records once they're done and they're out there. You never really listen to them at all. Is that still the case today?
Well, I've had to listen to a few things to relearn them. But no, I mean, there's too much other stuff to do besides to get nostalgic with the old records. Sometimes I'm kind of shocked when I go back and listen to them, and I'm like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that bridge or whatever." But yeah, I don't really listen to my records.
So, if you could pin a theme on this new record, what would it be? A general theme that runs through the songs.
There's a lot of hope and a pinch of gratitude in there. And basically, the theme is to try to reach out to others and ask them how they're doing and mean it.
I saw it described as a recovery album. Can you expand on that for us?
Yeah, well, I was quite this, you know, the drinker and the drug taker, as it were, as I rambled around. It didn't get better for me. It just got it got progressively worse. You know, that's just my story. So eventually, you know, I went to the Slammer a couple of times, you know, bit of an outlaw in that regards. You know, no Ned Kelly or anything, but you know, I got in some trouble. And then there's just the mental trouble that you get in. You get stuck in this rut, you know, creative rut. And I didn't enjoy it. So I observed some of my friends or other people that were able to kind of climb out of that. And I just reached out and asked for help. So the least I can do is be around when someone wants to ask me what's going on in that department, because it's a 24-hour gig, just like it says in the song Speed Limit, when the pain grows too big, and the idea of staying the same, or you're going to try to do something to change up your life. And it's when the pain of staying the same outweighs the strain of making changes. Is the way to look.
So do writing songs with a recovery theme become part of the recovery process itself?
Not for everybody, but for me, yeah, because I write a lot. I did go through a divorce about 4 years ago, and I wrote a lot about that, right? But my producers basically were kind enough to gently just sit me down and say, hey, let's set aside these angry songs and let's focus on these positive songs. And let's go in that route rather than just, kind of moaning about what went wrong, and you're not able to see what went wrong. You're not able to take responsibility for what went wrong. You're pointing fingers, and those kind of songs, they have a place in this world, I'm sure. Those angry songs, angry love songs, angry love lost songs. But that wasn't going to be the case with this record. So I just happen to write a lot. So every now and then, yeah, that subject will come up because it's very much part of my life. And although I like to be an observational songwriter and write about other people and tell other people's stories, sometimes in my case, the story is about myself. So I'm a little bit of both the songwriter that's observing others, like a Randy Newman type, where you're just making stories about other people. And then Lucinda Williams, another big influence on me, where she's actually talking about her life and the successes and the failures and the triumphs and the abysses of relationships.
So for you, would there be a centerpiece track on the album, one song that defines what the album's all about more than any of the others?
Wait, repeat that one more time. I was stuck in the idea that abyss, the plural of abyss, was not what I just said. I was like, can I speak? Ask that question again.
Would there be a centerpiece song on the album, one song in particular that defines what the album's all about?
For me, it would be Peace of Mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely, I want you, when you're angry at somebody, it just doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good then, doesn't feel good the next day. It's it's another form of a hangover, that emotional hangover.
Yeah.
Just pissed. So, and in my case, I was really angry at a large group of the voting population of my country. Something I totally wasn't in control of. We all can identify with that, whatever side you're on, whatever country you live in. We all have that thing where you're just angry at a group of people or something, but yet you can't control them. You can't. And so I basically just wanted to say that I wish you the same peace of mind that I wish for myself. That's the only way I'm going to get any sleep at night.
Are these all songs written during the COVID era?
A lot of them were, yeah, a lot of them were. And then a couple of them are older. Peace of Mind's a little bit older, actually. But it works. It's going to work for eternity, I hope. And the festival song is a little bit older. And the song Anchor, I wrote that before the quarantine time. And let's just hope that us Americans can get our shit together, as it were, and start wearing masks. Mm-hmm. Otherwise we're going to get into, it's quite different from what I understand. What's going on between my country and your country is the forced lockdown thing is very serious. You guys take it way more seriously than and it's more of a real, you're laying it down. You're laying down the law. We're here. People are touting it and just saying F the law and F your suggestions. I'm going to just run around town. And it's pretty challenging right now, I have to say.
For sure. How different album do you think it would be in a non-COVID world?
Well, that I don't know if I can answer that, because then I'd have to contemplate not being in acceptance of the world we're in right now. I felt like I was training for this quarantine just by working really hard on myself with therapy and whatnot. And so I don't know, man. I just, all I know is that all I can do and all I want to do from here on out when I feel like I'm hurting or I'm suffering is to reach out to someone else that may be suffering or hurting too, and just ask them how they're doing, because it's the only way out of self-centered fear and self-centered, like, just misery and self-pity and stuff like that, is to find someone else and ask them how they're doing and mean it.
Now you return to your original production team of Brad Jones and Robert Eaton.
Yeah, man.
From your very first album. So was the working dynamic any different between you and them today as you remember it from way back in the day?
They have maybe more suggestions, or I say yes more than I said. instead of saying no, I don't want to do that, I kind of just like, oh yeah, let's try that. I'm more open to trying their suggestions. It's kind of a figure eight with me and them. Like I started with them, then 10 years later I worked with them again. Now 20 years later I'm working with them again. So it's really an ongoing thing with me. I honestly feel like a newcomer, like a beginner all the time with this stuff. And I'm just grateful anytime I can finish the song. I'm like, oh, I wrote another song. Well, let's see what someone else would do with it. I do want to make, the crazy, Brian Wilson, Brian Jones / home recording where I just get all into it, but at home and not ask anybody's opinion. But it's nice to be with some guys that you completely trust to ask their opinion or basically to trust their guidance when it comes to suggesting things with recording.
Now, I saw you describe the title track as the most personal song you've ever written. Talk us through the emotions you go through writing a song so personal. Is there any point where you become a little tentative about actually putting it out there into the public?
No, I have things that are probably even more revealing. But in that case, I don't know how revealing it is. Really, I'm just telling a story about my family at first. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just honor my family in song, kind of like how the band, that one in that gatefold, the band's first album, you open up and there's just like them and all their family there. That was a cool statement on their part. And it was time for me to sing about my brothers and sisters. I have 4 older brothers, 2 older sisters, and great mom and dad. And I wanted, my mom's passed on now. My dad's 96. So I just wanted to sing a little kind of a love song, an ode to them. And then in the course of it, I was like, yeah, I've made some mistakes in my life, but that's not going to define me. And I don't believe it will define me. And those lyrics, I can't really explain how it went from that one thing to the other, but I guess in the course of saying, you don't really know me, these are the things that I wanted to say.
Can it be a healing experience writing a song like that? Is it like a purging of emotions?
I suppose so. I think that that's all of songwriting. If you're anywhere in the confessional mode or of genre, all of it is. Songwriters. We're really lucky that we're able to just tell our situations or tell our problems or our desires or our faults. We're able to write it down in a song form. Some people journal it, and that helps too, or some people talk to somebody about it. But it is fortunate that we can get cathartic with songs. And sometimes that's not what a song is, but sometimes it's helpful to do a little bit of a dumping of the emotional baggage.
For sure. Now, I know you don't listen back to your old albums, but in a few years' time, when you look back on this record, do you think you'll look back on it as a turning point, perhaps?
Again, that causes me to get into a place that I'm not right now. I of course I will look at it as a turning point. That we should try this interview again in a couple of years. And we're like, yep, that was a turning point.
Yep.
Because it is. I mean, if it's not a turning point, then what was it for? If what we're doing here isn't everything is a turning point.
For sure.
I hope.
A couple of songs dedicated to some wonderful artists that we've recently lost, John Prine and Justin Townsend. Tell us about those two songs.
Yeah, the John Prine song, man, I tell you, I wrote that the night he passed away. It was April. There was a full moon here, and it was right at the beginning of the quarantine, and he was kind of the first casualty, famous casualty of certainly of someone that I had met and knew. I was a street musician in Ireland years and years ago, and I met him, and he was very encouraging and very kind and very sweet. And I just, when I heard his song that night, it just hit me in a way that really calmed me down and helped me realize that we'll have that music forever. So it was important for me to again get cathartic right there and just kind of help when you're feeling something to write it down. And I put it in a very simple song. And the other song that you're referring to on the record is the closing song on the record. It's called "The River Where Time Was Born." The River Where Time Was Born. And I spent a lot of the quarantine time going fishing with my daughter down on the Elk River here in Tennessee, and I just loved it. And there's a guy named Justin Townsend who did a lot of traveling in Australia, and he would go way off the beaten path there. That's what I loved about his tours down there, and that's the way he explained it to me too. Is like, well, once you get going, you can go off the beaten path. And of course, that's what I do in Alaska. I go to Alaska, I go off the beaten path, and I'm very much looking forward to doing that in your country, of course, and some fishing if that's part of it. But you know, I just felt so bad for him. You know, I knew that when he lost the road, when the road went away for him, the addiction picked back up, the obsession and the addiction picked back up for him, and he didn't see a way out. And it may well have been an accident, but is it really an accident when you start getting into opioids and stuff like that? It's just really sad, and it really hurts that he wasn't able to see or didn't have, you know, really close friends that got in there and did something about it. But you can't really do anything about it. And I don't know. I knew him, but I don't know how good of friends I was with him, and I don't know how close of friends you can be with someone that's as an intense a person as he was, and he will always remain in our memory, you know, as a great creative force and very funny and very sweet person who had, you know, he had some challenging things to his personality as well. But I definitely learned a lot about him in regards to stage presence and Travis picking.
So has your method of songwriting changed much through the years? Is it a pretty set formula that you stick to when you're writing, or can it vary from song to song?
Yeah, it changes a lot lately. You know, I know when I've written a verse and a chorus and maybe another verse, I'm like, oh, I pretty much have a song there. Now I just have to take a breath and finish it. But now lately I've been opening up the drum beats, you know, and going a completely different route to challenge myself. And so there's different ways of doing it. I do try to journal a lot. I try to write every day. I mean, every single day, something. If I'm not writing something, maybe I'll learn something then, or listen to something so I can learn it. So the process for me is really taking in a lot of words and maybe music without words. And therefore I'm able to conjure those words, or, you know, spit those words back out when I need them. But the process, it changes. All I know is that there's certain songs that just drop out of nowhere, and I'm really glad to be stable and in one spot to get them. That, you know, today I decided to ride my bicycle to the grocery store, right? And on the way down, it started happening. I didn't even know it was the rhythm of the road or something. It started happening. You know, I was on the Trail of Tears, which is a real road where Andrew, you know, Jackson marched the Cherokee people from Tennessee to Oklahoma. You know, our two countries compete in their treatment of our Aboriginal people, compete for how horrific each one of us was. We all know that. And in the case of that, I was riding my bike on the Trail of Tears, and it just something started hitting me in a weird way about it. and I didn't write it down. And now all I have is the conversation with you about it, because I wasn't able to sit there and document it because I was in the middle of just moving. And what an interesting time for us creatives. It just, either you commit yourself to it or you blow it off and hope to God it comes back.
Yeah. You're also a published poet, and you were a poetry major at university, I believe, too.
Yeah, and published, as far as like, yes, I've published myself, but I'm a published songwriter. I was working with a big publishing company back here in the States, and now, yeah, I just, because we have these modern publishing houses that are like do-it-yourself things, DIY, you can print a good-looking book, you know, if you got a little bit of skill with the computer. And I'm not saying I do, but you know, you get a little skill, you can put your own books out, and I put them on my merch table with my albums. And when I come down to Australia again, I hope to God I get to do that. Thank you, Mother Hen Touring. Aretha, my friend Aretha runs Mother Hen Touring, and she puts me down. So, she's the best. If I get to do that, I'll probably bring some poetry books, and maybe the story about, I did publish a whole book about my journey through Russia, which was one of the most intense journeys a troubadour could ever take.
So sometimes do some poems end up being songs and some songs end up being poems?
Yeah, I try to separate them. It was during the pandemics when I really sat down and got into the separation thing. But I put a few song lyrics in the poetry books just because I think they work that way. But if you write enough, eventually you're gonna separate the lyrics and the poems. You know, sometimes with my poetry style, I'm very derivative of the Charles Bukowski and Sexton school of confessional poetry, where I'm just spitting out what I'm elated about or disgusted with at the time, either myself or, you know, humanity. And with the songs, I actually work on making them rhyme, maybe. I don't know. I use the same syllables in each section to get, so I can sing it, and there's a melody. It's strange to talk about it like this, but yeah, there is a difference. I'm just not quite sure what it is yet.
I love the video for Real Revolution. Very simple yet very effective animation. Tell us about that one.
Thank you. That's my friend Maxwell Sebastian. He is a visual artist from Atlanta, Georgia, currently living in Nashville, Tennessee. And you can find him on the Instagram, people. Sebastian, Maxwell Sebastian is his name. And I told him, you know, that video was my favorite because I just said, hey, do what you do. I have no guidance whatsoever. Just make a video and have fun with it, you know, and that's what he made. So those are the best ones. You basically just get someone to, you know, here, you do what you do. And it's painless that way. You know, when you hire someone to do something and let them just do them.
Yep. When you're releasing a new album these days, we'll talk about streaming before. Do you still pay as much attention to the sequencing of the tracks as what you would maybe in the past?
I do. Yeah, I do. I totally think I'm putting out an album, you know, that someone's going to sit down with and absorb as an album. But then I also don't obsess over it. I don't worry about it anymore. I just know, what naturally feels good to me. You know, you try to put something on that is going to hold someone there, something that's unpredictable, something that's different, which in the case of this record, that first track is the title track. And it's also, I figure, a fairly unpredictable song. It sounds like it's going to be predictable and plotting, but then there's quite a bit of change up. And with the adding of the female voices in there, Nikki Barber and Amanda Stone. And it just kind of, I just try to set a pace, you know, and tell a story. But yeah, I'll put the titles in a row and read them just like that, like a poem, and see if that makes any sense.
Oh, good.
It doesn't always, but we try. I'm stuck in the album form. If that's what really,
that's good.
That's what it is. I mean, I know that we're not supposed to be there as creatives anymore, whatever. And that's cool that there's some kids right now making songs, one song at a time, and have a gazillion streams from one song that they made on GarageBand. But I still believe in the album, and I'm going to be a dinosaur, I guess, like that. That's just the way it is.
That's good. There's plenty of us dinosaurs out there that are very glad to hear
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the Beatles are a great example of their albums are amazing, but yet also individual tracks, one at a time, pretty much nailed it. So they're kind of a good, guide for almost anything when it comes to recording and making albums.
So what's the touring situation feel like over there at the moment? Is it opening up now?
It's a little bit in between. So I feel like with my immunization and a mask on that I can go anywhere. I don't let the fear hold me back anymore. However, I'm hoping that people that come to the shows are immunized and are going to wear a mask indoors. I'm not requesting them to do that. I'm hoping they do that. A lot of my more famous buddies are laying down the gauntlet, the line, saying this is what you got to do to come to the show. And I just don't feel like that's my job to do that. I don't feel like I'm in the position to do that, but I see how others are doing it. And let's not forget that some people can't get the shot. They can't for physical reasons. They really cannot do it for medical reasons. So let's not try to shun those people from society just because they can't participate. But we are hoping that most people respond to the facts of science and go get immunized against something that's bound to have more variants and out there. So I really appreciate it. I really thank all the people out there listening that have gotten their shot and that are helping to contain the variants by wearing masks when they go out to the market and stuff like that.
Any tentativeness about getting back out on the road again after being a home for the last 18 months?
That was the question. The question was, well, I'm going on. I just toured Alaska, which is a different place for sure. But yeah, man, I'm going on the road Wednesday. I'm going to play a couple of things. A couple of them are indoors. A couple of them will have, the windows or the garage door will be open. But yeah, I'm in a record release time or cycle or whatever you want to call it. And so I'm playing some shows. Yeah, I need to make a living, and I'm out there playing shows, and I'm hoping everybody is responsible and does the right thing.
Fantastic. Hey, Tim, thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure catching up with you, and congratulations on another fantastic collection of songs. And we hope when the world turns normal again, we'll see you down here for some shows, some workshops, and we'll throw in a fishing trip as well.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Cool. See ya.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.